Today, I'm joined by Samuel Aluko, a cybersecurity specialist and IT professional with over a decade of experience across telecommunications and information technology. Samuel is passionate about building and equipping people, what he calls the human firewall, emphasizing that people, not just technology, are the first and strongest line of defense. His work focuses on helping individuals, teams, and organizations turn awareness into everyday action, creating security habits that actually stick. Samuel, it's great to have you here as part of the Pathfinders Network Cyber Awareness Conversation series. At the Pathfinders Network, our DNA is built on advocacy, leadership, mentorship, and capacity development. And we focus on human-centric cybersecurity. The reason we do this is because lasting resilience begins with people. This time, we are looking into cybersecurity is personal, building everyday resilience through awareness and habits. And Samuel, your approach aligns perfectly with what we are discussing, treating cybersecurity as a life skill that belongs to everyone, not just those in IT or those in cybersecurity. So I would just like to start with this. Why should everyone and not just technology professionals care about cybersecurity?
Thank you, Rafael. Let me just say thank you for having me here on this platform. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to participate with the wonderful work you and your team are actually doing. So, and back to your question, and yeah, really, I consider this as a fundamental question, and this is everyday question that people kind of ask me as well. That why do I care? And it comes to the point that in the digital world that we have right now, we should kind of recognize that cybersecurity, it's no longer a technical problem, right? And what I'm trying to say is it's now become a human reality. Think of it this way. I appreciate the good work of what the automotive engineers have done on my cars. I appreciate the good job of, construction engineers to ensure that we have a good road, that we can actually drive on. But the question is, why do I still need to consider using my seatbelts when I'm driving? Why do I need to obey traffic laws? Why do I need to take those precautions when I'm driving? So it's kind of the same concept. It's the same way that we try to protect, what we do every day. And it's the way we kind of make sure that we take precaution in our digital world. And the reason again is just because there are several risks that we kind of exposed to when in this digital world, it has its own financial impact risk. It has its own personal and privacy invasion when you look at it from losing your reputation or your identity online. And, I talk about financial risk. A mere phishing emails or phishing attack can actually make you lose your life savings, right? And you don't want to do that. And somebody told me like, okay, cybersecurity does not have anything to do with my life. But it does. If you lose your entire life savings in your bank account, your high blood pressure can move from 0 to 1 million, like almost immediately. And with that, you can actually drop dead over time. It can actually create a sickness. So that's the perspective where I want people to see cybersecurity from. That it's an everyday thing for us. The digital world, everybody's using one way or the other. You are using a digital application. You are exposed to the internet. You are doing something that has to do with online activities. So this is it's not cybersecurity expert alone. It's now house thing. Why do you care to lock your house when you're going out? It's the same concept, right? That you need to protect yourself and create a cyber hygiene.
Yeah, and I love that. Why do you need to lock the door when you are, going to bed or when you're
Yeah,
going out? And defense in depth also kind of, crept in. You lock the main door, the perimeter gates. You come in the entrance into the house, maybe the living room. You ensure that the one to the kitchen or wherever those places are well secured. The one to your room, yes. So I understand. And even when we take it to the automobile, kind of you're spending a lot of money buying sophisticated vehicles, and
exactly.
at the same time you're still expected to use your seatbelt.
Use a seatbelt. That is
Okay.
now on you.
That's now on
Even
you to
though
do.
the engineer has done what they're supposed to do, like for example, cybersecurity, Google experts, they've been able to put professionals together to ensure that your Gmail is secured enough. But if the Gmail or if an email drops in your inbox, it's still your responsibility, like you use a seatbelt, to be able to filter and ensure that, okay, you look at the sender ID, you look at those link and ensure that, you're clicking the right link.
We are probably going to get into that, and I don't want you to jump the gun before that. I love where the direction the conversation is going, and this is one of the challenges you're going to be having when you're chatting with professionals like you. Now, you've worked in environments where security really matters. So I may have to ask, in construction, I also worked in construction when I first came to Canada. There's something they call near miss. So that means you just escaped a serious accident. So that's a near miss. So now I have to ask you, what's one lesson you've learned from a very close call online that could have resulted in a cyber breach?
So that's really not a live close call that I would say, but at the same time, I will kind of use this as an example. And I'm not always shy to kind of say this. I say this everywhere that I go to. And just like you said, it's a wake up call for me. It's a lesson learned for me. I see that from a different perspective. And what am I trying to say? As a cybersecurity professional, we always kind of think that we are the experts. And I'll share this story with you. It's a very funny story. I was working in one of my organizations that I was working with. I also managed the phishing exercise, monthly phishing exercise awareness, and what have you. And I have a platform that I use to kind of send out monthly phishing email complaint. And the interesting thing is I schedule this every month. And one day I receive an email from my office work. And to your surprise, and to my surprise,
Okay.
guess what? I clicked on that phishing link. It's funny, right? And immediately I clicked on that, I was like, shush. I just clicked on my own phishing campaign email. And at that point, I kind of, paused and I reflected back to how could I have been the one that scheduled an email, fell victim of that same phishing email. And I'll tell you what, I got this email on my phone. And at that point, when I got the email, was when I was trying to rush out of my house to go and pick my kids. And again, to your question, the lesson learned for me at that point was at the same time, it's not about the fact that people don't want to or find out or want to recognize the phishing email. One of the lessons learned is that skepticism and discipline to kind of slow down when you get an email, it's very important. It's not about being professional. It's not about being good enough. It's not by the fact that I'm actually the best to identify phishing emails. It's not just what we cybersecurity professionals says about check the sender ID. And I'm not using that. Check the phishing link, hover around that. What happens when you have circumstances, real life circumstances that you're seeing an email that's checked sending from your manager saying you need to review the document. And you're at a point where you have your kids beside you, you're trying to let them get seated or in the car, and at the same time you're checking your email. Do you still develop that habit where you need to pause, reflect, and look at those emails critically? And that's what happened to me. I preach this every time, but I did not do that. And that's where the habit comes in. It should be an habit. And that's what we call it cyber hygiene, cyber habits. It's just like the same way you can't survive without eating. It's just that the same way you feel so unsafe when you go out without locking your door. You want to pause, you want to check. I'll tell you what, you lock your door sometimes. Why do you want to check again
Hmm. If it is
if
locked.
it's really locked? So that is the skepticism that I'm talking about, that you want to slow down, you want to discipline yourself in a way and make that an habit. And that was a lesson learned for me.
Yeah.
And I look at that this might be the reason why other people kind of click on the phishing link. It's not because they don't know all the red flags. We say red flags, don't click on this, like I said. But again, beyond red flags, you need to kind of create or have some level of discipline to be able to pause and to be able to look beyond just the email and take some time to reflect on that. Am I expecting this email from this individual? Could I just pause, even though there's urgency in most of those emails? But am I going to die if I pause and come back to check this email again? So, yeah, it was a lesson learned for me. I know I'm not going to talking about the red flags. I check the red flags and I'm able to identify this. And no, it's kind of beyond that right now. And again, one of the lessons learned again along the line was, yeah, I swallowed my pride. I reported that to my CISO and I felt bad, of course. I reported that to my CISO and my CISO was like, wow, how could you do that? You clicked and you reported to me. I'm so happy. And what I'm saying this is because I reflect back also on my encounter, my experience with my other colleagues and with my other users. Don't be shy. Don't be afraid to report it when you click on it. It's also good for us to be able to address the issue before it gets into the entire network. Like we say, you want to ensure that we contain it in a very small area by reporting it and quickly identify the issue before it gets into a bigger issue that we won't be able to overcome. That's another lesson learned. Don't be shy. If you click on it, you click, fine, but report it like immediately to whoever you want to report it to. Escalate the issue. Call your bank if it's an end user. You click on the phishing link, you provided your bank account details, call your bank immediately and ensure you go through the process of how they can actually block your account.
And thank you so much for taking us, personal, for sharing what really, I'm not sure so many people will be able to do that. Well, telling us how exactly it happened to you. I know it's funny, things like, and that's what I tell people, that I believe it's more psychological. If you are able to, and that is what the bad guys are trying to look into. They are playing on the emotion, they are playing on the psychology of users. Imagine you were probably late and you had to rush to go pick the kids. So it could happen to anybody. Somebody actually likened that to healthcare workers. They are expected after every patient to wash their hands. And if that is an habit that they build, then everybody also should build a certain amount of cyber habits. And if you're able to build that in your individual personal lives, you bring it down to the corporate level, which is going to help. Thanks so much for sharing that. There is also a fact, a data that small business owners, they drive the economy. There are a lot of them, they bring a lot of revenue. But these same people and families also do not have big budgets or security teams like big enterprises. And what practical steps do you think they can take to protect themselves better?
Yeah, I think this is one of the things I also do personally. Apart from, talking to end users or people, I also target small businesses because they are key, like you said, to the growth of our economy. And we might not be seeing it from the perspective that everybody feels like hackers are actually targeting the big company. But from my analysis, I realized that a lot of small businesses are actually falling victim of cyber attack every other day. It's not just announced because they don't have that obligation to report it, or we don't have a platform where they report and we can get that data, but it's really happening. From my conversation with different people, I open up my portal to reach out to me and they want to know more what they can do. And back to your question, my strategy is really very simple. Just focus on high impact safeguards, implementing simple strategy, implementing simple cybersecurity posture that could work for your small business or for individual. So I'll take it for individual. Your focus as an individual first is to prioritize your reputation online, your identity online, and you want to make sure that everything you do online, you save your finances, your money. That is what is most important for you. Those three key things. And how can you do that? Make sure you follow all the password management rules, like create complex password for all your accounts, for all your applications or all your bank accounts using password managers and what have you. The other part you can actually do that is to create another layer of security. You mentioned something the other time that you lock your door, which is the main entrance door. And after getting into that house, you still before you can gain access into the room, you still have to unlock the door in the room. And why are we doing that? Your most important and asset to you is actually in your room. And if that is in your room, you are creating additional layer of security before anybody can get into your room. So you lock your main entrance door, you lock another door, and you lock another door before someone can gain access into that special asset. So that's the same way with multi-factor authentications. I can't emphasize this enough. For everything you do, you see an opportunity to add additional layer of security apart from password, go for it like immediately. Now back to small businesses. Small businesses, I say prioritize business continuity and your data. That is key. You don't have to spend money and start looking at firewalls and what have you. You ensure, like you said during my introduction, ensure that you equip your human firewall. Train your employee on the key things that they need to watch out for, like phishing emails, like we keep saying, cyber hygiene. Ensure that you create a long character and a strong passphrase for your password. Use an MFA. Now, the second aspect is for your business continuity, ensure that you have all your data backup strategy that works for you. Look for one and adopt that. And what am I trying to say? If you have all these things in place, it doesn't matter when, like we usually say, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. It doesn't matter when you get compromised or get breached. Now, you can put a defense in place and you also put a resilience in place. Defense is you ensure that you have all these things that I've said, throughout creation in place. But when you get compromised and an attacker gain access into your data, you can still be able to continue your business by falling back to your backup. And your backups helps you, have access to your data and you can continue working on your business while you're trying to outsource, maybe eradicating that security issues with another company. So these two little steps, it's the strategy that I actually tell them to do because you're a small business. You don't have so much resources. You don't want to stop your business. You want to ensure that what can we do? How can I ensure that if we get, or when we get breached, we can still be able to come back and still be able to serve our customers the way we need to do it.
I love that. I love that continuity. You have to think continuity. You have to think resilience. Part of that is your backup strategy. Where are you backing up your data? How frequent do you back them up? And do you even test your backup to be sure that what you thought
Yeah.
your backup are really, really backed up?
Even personally for me, I have a 3 backup as an individual, and I tell people every day. Fridays is when I actually do my full backup, and I put them in the cloud. I also have them in my hard drive. So, and I have one on my system as well. So I have 3 copies of my data. If one is compromised, I will just shut down my laptop. I'll look for another laptop and I will still have access into my data and I can continue to do business. I can have access to my emails. And this is the same thing I want small businesses to also adopt. We know we talk about ransomware, ransom attack. One of the best way to come back from ransom attack, irrespective of how bad it is when you have a proper and a very good resilience strategy in place. Fall back to your backup. It doesn't matter how your data has been encrypted or so that's kind of the approach I will actually for small businesses. Like you said, their budget is very minimal. They're just trying to survive. They're coming up. You don't want to start thinking of bigger infrastructures that will actually be able to, take away much of your little income and your budgets. Look at this small strategy and you are good to go.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I guess I have to do another session with you on small and medium scale enterprises and their resilience. But finally, what's that one routine that keeps you confident and alert online?
Yeah, like we said, it's just having this digital hygiene in place, and digital hygiene is not one-off thing. It's not just something you do today and you forget about it tomorrow. You just need to be conscious of the fact that attackers are not sleeping. they continue to try to target you. And it's just the same way we have. I usually like to use simple analogy. Like, even though you try to lock your door, you still see you can't control the number of people that actually walk on your streets. And most of them in areas that are not really secured, you see most of them trying to go into your house and see if your house is not locked. We have a scenario in my neighborhood recently that we have people that was actually going around at 4 a.m. and they were trying to audit our cars. I call it audit our cars because they were trying to open the cars if they could find out if there are cars that are not being logged. You understand? So with that, it's just the same concept of cybersecurity hygiene. Ensure that you check and create an habit where you can actually save secured. And I'll give you three things that you can actually do most of the time, especially for users that keep me alert. I check my phone. I don't joke with every update on the application, right? Because I tell users, update is not about adding new features. It's not about adding new emojis. It's not about adding new images or design. Most of the applications right now are fixing security bugs. And you need to know that when immediately you see an update available on your phone, get it done immediately. You don't have to wait. Another thing I tell people is check your privacy settings, right? Ensure that you reduce and restrict permissions that you give to most of the applications on your phone. I shared this example recently. I discovered that I shared my camera with my Airbnb application. What on earth does Airbnb application needs to use my camera for, right? And these are the things that most people don't know. You share your all the list of your contacts with the game on your phone, right? So you need to keep checking that, keep checking those routines, and ensure the last thing is if you can get a backup. You know, if it's on maybe on cloud, it's you can just pay like less than $1 every month to have a backup online so that you don't lose those important information and data that you have on your phone. Your pictures, you don't want an hacker to have access to your phone and gain access to your pictures. You have the backup online and you can be able to stay safe. So these are the major three things that I do. And I change my password regularly.
Regularly.
And again, I check online to ensure that if I see my password manager prompting me that my password has been seen on the breach network or it's considered breach somewhere, I try to change my password immediately. And so it, like I said, it's an habit. You're just conscious of that, a routine, and you're ensuring that you put all those habits in place and every time you come across that.
Yeah, and thank you. Thank you for sharing those three major habits that listeners can think about and consider. I think the other thing you mentioned it actually, but I'm going to also bring it back is also we have to pause. We have to take it easy. When messages are coming, somebody called me last week and it was very late at night, around 10 p.m. I was going to talk to my wife and they said they were calling from a football club. We have like an association where I do not really go to play soccer there regularly, but it said, yeah, it's calling from that place. You know the place that I'm talking about. That's where we actually met each other. And it was like, yeah, we have a voting tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. We are going to vote tomorrow. You get the link shortly before the poll would open. I said, but I do not come regularly. It was putting a lot of pressure. And he said, yeah, but spending the time, they're going to get people that will be available to vote tomorrow, that a link will come to my phone. They just need me to, press on the link or read the code to them. I just said, I am going to go to the WhatsApp group and I'm going to catch up on the information on the WhatsApp group. And I think it's late for him to be calling me. That day it was around 9:30, 10 p.m. So I said I need to put you out and speak to my wife. And after that, I went to check the WhatsApp group and I realized that he has already gotten some people to send him the code and their WhatsApp application has been hacked. So I think it's very important for us to take it cool. It's very important for us to pause. It's very important for us to reconsider if the action we are being pressed to take, if we should take them. Samuel,
Yeah,
thank you.
that,
Thank you
that's it.
so much for your
Yeah.
insights and the grounded wisdom you bring to this chat. Your message that cybersecurity is a shared responsibility and a personal life skill captures exactly what we are hoping that people take away from this series. It's been a real pleasure having you here as part of the Pathfinders Network Cyber Awareness Conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
that.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Have a good day.
Yeah, you too.